Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So today we would continue our activity, cybersecurity empowerment. Please let me introduce myself. My name is Adiwan Aritonang, and I'm a lecturer and also the program director in urban and regional planning in ITB, where I also work as a researcher in the Smart City and Community Innovation Center together with Professor Suhono and other. Our discussion will be mainly on to introduce the policy areas are related to the public, and also we could show and discuss the challenges of specific topics on one or two policy areas that will be brought by our speakers for today. Today we have four speakers. First, we have Mr. Anang from as the president director of Bhakti, and then we also have Professor Tuxel from Ankara Hasi Bayram Valley University, and we also have Ms. Nia Sarinas Titi from Atmajaya Catholic University. And last but not least, we have also Mr. Lukman Hakim as the EGM Digital Infrastructure Development at PT Telkom Indonesia. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Suhono for the opening for this event.
Thank you, Dr. Adiwan, and good morning. First, distinguished speaker, Dr. Anang from Bhakti is one of the agent of development of the Universal Service Obligation Eligibility, and Professor Tusan from Turkey, and Dr. Nia Narisititi from Atmajaya, and Pak Lukman from PT Telkom, and also the other speaker, as I saw, a Professor Glenn Warrock from Berkeley University that yesterday have a good presentation, good speak in accessible internet access, and another speaker and also another participant from some countries. And I also found TKJ and also people from participant from Argentina, Mr. Camelia, that's as our partner for the Task Force 2 in Think Tank 20. Well, this morning is the second day for the preliminary discussion in our road to T20 Indonesia. This second day. The first day, yesterday, the speaker from Indonesia, lead chair from Digital Economic Working Group, Ms. Mira Taiba, and Professor Jim Pierre Alfred from Jameson University, Professor Glenn Warrock, Berkeley University, Professor Toshio Obi from Waseda University, Japan, and Professor Khairul Anwar from Telkom University. And today is second day, and the first speaker is Mr. Anang Ahmad Latif, President Director Bhakti Kominfo, one of the agent for the ICT development, especially for the rural and edge related. Dr. Nia Narisiti from Atmajaya, Professor Tuxel Kaya Besi from Turkey, and Ms. Lukman Hakim from PT Telkom. Yesterday, we discussed about the accessible and affordable universal internet access, and also smartization, and include digital government, smart city, and smart village, and also cybersecurity, risk, threat, and data privacy. Today, as a role of Pak Anang in Bakti, also talk about the accessible and affordable universal internet access, and also Dr. Nia Narisiti will talk about the digital literacy and scale for closing digital gap, of course, include gender. And Professor Sus is talk about the small medium enterprise, startup, digital payment, and technological adoption. So this all of this policy area is one of our priority policy area and will be considered in a task force 2 in G20. Before that, I would like to introduce in 7 minutes about what the T20 and Task Force 2. About G20 is an international cooperation forum for world major economies that account for more than 80% world GDP and 75% of global trade and 60% of the planet population. G20 summit is hosted by different G20 members country every year. The 2022 Indonesia presidency is presided by the Italian presidency and will be succeeded by Indian in 2023 and consequently by Brazilian. I know, I hope you are well about the member of the G20 countries from Asia, from America, from Africa, and also Australia. The evolution of G20 starts from the 1990 in regard to respond to the crisis, and then economic governance, and this decade talk about the response to crisis, the pandemic of COVID-19. And what is Indonesia pillars is talking about the recover together and recover stronger with 3 main pillars. It's promoting productivity, increasing resiliency and stability, and also ensuring sustainability and inclusive growth. And digitalization is a catalyst for all main pillars. This is our task in Think Tank 20. This is a G20 summit. There are ministerial meetings, working group, engagement group. T20 is one of engaged group regard in Ideas Bank and meet in a Sherpa G20, Sherpa Sus and G20, and we talk about what is the T20. Started in 2012 during the Mexican G20 presidency. Official engagement of Group G20 allowed T20 to have a close connection to G20 process. What is the strategic role of the T20? As a global ideas bank, a process in which T20 includes hundreds of researchers and dozens of think tanks from around the world, provide independent and analytic recommendation to G20's decision-making process, promote international cooperation by providing more informal but honest and foresight discussion among think tank and researchers, initiate transnational policy dialogue on emerging issues, occasionally joined by other engagement group. And this is a T20 Indonesian governance, chairs and co-chairs, task force, executive coordinator, and chair of T20 Indonesia is led by Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, former Ministry of Research and Technology, and also Professor Jisman Simanjuta. This is organization. And in 2020, there are 9 task force. Task force 1, consider open trade and sustainable investment. Task force 2, consider meaningful digital connectivity, cybersecurity, and empowerment. And TF3 and TF9 is as a son. TF2, T20 chairs and lead, co-chair is myself, Professor Khairul Anwar, Dr. Nia Nasari Nasiti, Professor Tuksel Jasa Bensir, Professor Jung Chong Hwang from Korea, Professor Toshio Obi, Professor Ben Ko from Tsinghua University, Professor Glenn Warrock from Berkeley University, from Alfred from Jeomasan University, and we had Dr. Anbu Mosi from India. T20 activities and deliverability. First, as the main event is the T20 Inception Report, Inception Conference, and T20 Summit that will be done in this year from February till September. And policy brief. And another is T20 Communique. T20 Task Force is a working group that aims to address specific issues related to G20 and T20 priority agenda. Each task force is expected to produce high-quality policy recommendation and policy brief as its deliverable. The task force will also have some internal and external activities such as meeting, workshop, and roundtable. In task force 2, there are several side events that will then and will be known maybe in the end of this January. This is a task force and role of the co-chair, chair, and host institution role. Task force 2, I am as a lead co-chair, and Smart City and Community Innovation Center as a host institution. This is a benefit of the participating in T22. And there are several T20 results. For example, in Italy last year, or this year, last year, there are 11 task force. And in Saudi Arabia, in 2020 is also contains 11 task force. And in Argentina, also only 10 task force. And in Japan, 2019 is considered as 10 task force. In Indonesia, this year consider 9 task forces, and its task force contain several policy area. And in task force 2, T20 in Indonesia, there are 9 policy area. The first is about the accessible and affordable universal internet access to rebuild and recover in the pandemic. The second policy area considers smartization and meaningful digitalization for sustainable development goal. 3 is data governance, e.g. data protection and cross-border data flow. The 4, digital government, smart city, and smart villages. 5 is AI governance and ethics. 6, digital literacy and skill for closing digital gender gap. 7, small medium enterprise, startup, digital payment, and technological adoption. Number 8, cybersecurity risk, threat and data privacy. And 9, impact and potential of digital development cooperation. And they speak about the timeline. November 21st, handover, officially start T20 Indonesia and call for policy brief. Now is outgoing policy brief. The final day for proposed policy brief next week in January 10. And this meeting is for awareness. What is the policy brief, our expectation? And January task force panel meeting to finalize abstract selection and priority area. This is on invitation only, this the end of this January. And February 22 is about inception conference, presenting abstract. In May, we propose an agenda in two areas. One is smart village and rural. We would like to discuss with Pak Anang in regard this digital transformation and rural, and also considering smart village and site event in May. And also we talk about the data government with the smart city, with the also in a Ministry of Information and Communication, Directorate General of Application. And June 22, multi-stakeholder conference discussing priority area with high-level panelists. In July 22, interim workshop 1, first preparing communique with another task force, with another working group or another group in G20. And August 22, interim workshop second to deliver T20 communique to G20 Indonesia, Sherpa, and Finance Track. And September 22, T20 Summit, presenting T20 communique to public. This is an agenda. And hopefully today we can continuously discuss about the important, about the priority and what must we consider to shape the future of the world with a crisis on health, pandemic, economy, and also climate change. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Professor Suhono, for the introduction and opening for this event. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Anang Ahmad Latif, as the President Director of Bhakti, with a presentation titled on accessible and affordable universal internet access and digitalization for rural ecosystem development. The time is yours, Mr. Anang.
Thank you, Pak Adiwan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Peace be upon us. Firstly, let me convey my greetings to the speakers today. Professor Suhono Harso Supangkat, the lead co-chair of Task Force T20 Indonesia. Professor Tuksel Kaya Bezgir from Ankara Haji Bayram Valley University in Turkey. Dr. Nia Sarinastiti, a development partner lead of Accenture in Indonesia, who also served as a senior lecturer at Atmajaya Catholic University, and Mr. Lukman Hakim from PT Telkom Indonesia. Good morning to honorable speakers, guests, and participants. Also, Happy New Year 2022. I hope this year could be a fresh start that brings greater opportunities from a more happy, healthy, and successful life to all of us. It is such an honor for me to address a remarkable audience in the Policy Brief Conference organized by the Task Force to T20 Indonesia from Smart City and Community Innovation Center, Bandung Institute of Technology or ITB. As an alumnus of ITB, is near and dear to my heart. I am proud that ITB has always been the home of excellent ideas, innovations, and many passionate individuals. Some of them we will encounter today. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I would like to say a few words about my background. I am Anang Latif. I have been serving for the country as a civil servant for more than 25 years, right after I graduated from the ITB. I obtained my master's degree from Coventry University, England in 1998, majoring in operational telecommunication. This field has been both my passion and expertise. Currently, I am presiding over the Indonesian Agency for Communication and Technology Accessibility, or BAKTI. We conduct our roles as an executing agency under the Ministry of ICT to provide reliable telecommunication services and robust digital ecosystem in Indonesia underserved, disadvantaged, as well as outermost areas. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will discuss further about the urgency of telecommunication infrastructure development, especially for rural communities and other underserved regions. As our first Vice President Muhammad Hatta once said, Indonesia will not shine bright because of big torch lit in Jakarta, but because of many small candles glow in the rural. However, we still have a long way to go to make our nation shine bright like what he inspired. According to national research by BPS, Center of Statistics Bureau in 2020, only about 45% of people in rural communities have access to smartphones and the internet, compared to 70% of urban population. Slide, please. Okay. The looming mishap is yet to come if we do not immediately address the gap. Currently, pandemic has proven that internet connectivity becomes no longer a luxury. Rather, it has transformed into basic necessity to access information, treatment, and other empowering opportunities. Therefore, leaving some people without proper internet connectivity means preventing them from reaching their optimum potential. A long journey of government role to fill the connectivity gap firstly started in 1999, when Law Number 36, year 1999, ended monopoly model on telecommunication and left it to full competition. Global financial crisis combined with national instability during the period resulted in restructuration of two big players in national telecom industry, Telkom and Indosat, were no longer operated fully by the government, and due to the regulation reform, there were many new players in Indonesia telecom industry coming. 5 years later, the Indonesian government invited all the telecommunication providers to bid for supplying public phone in rural areas. Unfortunately, the program could not sustain due to the shortage of funds. Then in 2005, it is reached a consensus that telecom provider should contribute 0.75% of their annual gross revenue under. And the government should be responsible in implementing the USO program. As for now, the number has risen to 1.25%. BAKTI was firstly established by the Ministry of ICT as BTIP, or translated as the Agency for Rural Telecommunication and Information. In order to achieve speed, efficiency, and transparency of managing the USO fund, the government initiated BTIP as Public Service Agency, or BLU, that also requires us to report to the Ministry of Finance. Up until now, BAKTI is still in the shape of Public Service Agency. The certain things that change is our greater task of not only providing communication devices for rural communities, but also building telecommunication infrastructure and empowering digital ecosystem. And only this year, in response to the urgent needs of equal digital connectivity, Bakti is interested to utilize the state budget. Hence, in addition to the state budget and the USO contribution, we have successfully managed multiple sources of funds, namely public-private partnership scheme and non-tax state revenue or PNBP obtained from other Cominfo work unit. Indeed, there are special challenges when we strive for rural connectivity, especially in archipelagic and vast country like Indonesia. First, it is expensive and more difficult. We are talking about very challenging terrains, for instance, mountainous regions in Papua and the outermost islands in Talaut Regency. To provide telecommunication infrastructure in locations like those, we also need to lay out basic infrastructure, as they are often not yet equipped with proper road and electricity. Second, it is clearly not profitable. Rural area has lower population densities than urban areas, meaning that the number of potential customers is smaller. It will be hard for conventional business in broadband industry to sustain. The government presence through Bakti is needed to bridge this gap. Our actions are also important to encourage economic activities and trigger self-reliance, both for the industry and the beneficiary communities in the future. Despite increasing number of Indonesia internet users, there are disparities within regions. A recent survey by ABGI shows that Indonesia is 70% connected to the internet, but the high connectivity rate doesn't necessarily mean equal access. On the right side, it is shown that even in the Java, we still have 15% gap coming from the disparity between internet penetration rate and the percentage of local population. If we move to the eastern part of Indonesia, the color gets paler in a rather drastic manner. No wonder, because the majority of base transceiver stations still centers in Java and Sumatra. Also, the statistics shows that 4 out of 5 internet users in Indonesia comes from those 2 islands. It is such a waste opportunity if we don't address the gap immediately with full effort. As reported by Google, Temasek, and Bain Company, Indonesia holds the potential to be the largest digital market to record double-digit digital economic growth between 2019 and 2020. In fact, the growth will continue to climb up to $124 million US, or equivalent to 600 trillion rupiahs. With such valuation, Indonesia will dominate 40% of the entire digital economy in Southeast Asia. Indonesia digital economy potential can also be anticipated from 2-digit economic growth in the information and communication sector. Even when all national sectors experience a decline to minus due to the pandemic, the high resolution of the digital sector can be seen as a potential to revive the national economy. On the context of human resource, it is no doubt that Indonesia is leading. By 2030, we will remain rich demographic bonus, as the working age population now account for nearly 71% of the country's total population. To prepare Indonesia in becoming a competitive nation, President Joko Widodo has given 5 directions to accelerate digital transformation, as shown in the top column. The foremost task of Bakti is displayed in the first point, to develop digital infrastructure and to provide internet access in the frontier, outermost, and disadvantaged areas. We also conduct dedicated programs in developing human resources through digital ecosystem empowerment activities. Bhakti Services is present in all three layers of national telecommunication infrastructure, from backbone, middle mile, and last mile network. We supply telecommunication infrastructures with various technology, both utilizing terrestrial structure and satellite. We connect cities to districts, sub-districts, and down to the rural communities or villages. First, we have Palaparing project. In 2019, Bhakti has successfully completed the deployment of more than 12,200 kilometers fiber optic networks, both involving land and undersea cable. This infrastructure connects to 90 cities and support the national backbone networks. In order to strengthen the resilience of the network and to connect more rural and underserved regions, we plan the Palaparing integration project by adding more than 12,000 kilometers of fiber optics in the following 2022 to 2024. Second is the base transceiver station or BTS. During these 2 years of 2021 until 2022, we will conduct massive deployment of 4G BTS to more than 7,900 locations in total. The work that normally taken 10 years has been accelerated to be completed in just 2 years. As many as 6,460 locations are located in the eastern part of Indonesia. Specifically, 95% or 5,200 locations are located in the provinces of Papua and West Papua. This massive project laid out in the eastern part of Indonesia will prove our strong commitment in bridging the national digital divide, especially in rural and remote areas. By 2024, Bhakti will cover at least more than 9,113 villages that is not yet reached by the 4G signal. Prior to this, in 2015 until 2020, Bhakti has already upgraded 1,682 BTS with 2G and 3G to 4G technology. Third, free internet access for public facilities. Up until today, Bhakti has provided free internet access using various technologies such as super Wi-Fi, VSAT, radio link, and fiber optics at more than 11,500 public facilities. Most of the beneficiaries come from the education sector with a percentage of 38% spread across schools and training facilities. The next highest percentage of 32% located in the health service sector. In the means of handling COVID-19 pandemic, Bhakti works together with the National Committee for COVID-19 Handling and Economic Recovery or KPCPEN to provide free internet access at 3,126 health facilities. Fourth, National Satellite Project. To reach certain challenging locations that cannot be covered by terrestrial infrastructure like BTS and fiber optics, Bhakti will launch the first government-owned multifunction satellite called Satriawan. Satriawan is equipped with the latest high-throughput satellite technology with a capacity of 150 gigabit per second to supply high-speed internet access at 150,000 public service points. It will ensure the internet access distribution in priority locations, such as 93,900 schools and boarding schools, 47,900 government offices, and 3,900 police and army stations, and 3,700 health center or hospital, and 600 other public service points. Last but not least, Bhakti also developed digital ecosystem to maximize the positive aspect of internet presence in the beneficiary area. Bhakti provides digital MSME development programs, language tutoring, educational training, empowerment program for people with disability, and so on. Here is the closer look to our program. The complex depiction of national fiber optic network can be seen only centered in Java and Sumatra, whereas in the eastern part of Indonesia is dominated with the blue lines, indicating our vital presence in the region. While in the other layers of telecommunication infrastructure, Bhakti also come with different solutions, as I have explained just now, from satellite, 4G BTS to free internet access point. Efforts made by the government to improve internet optimization have now been carried out as described above. Bhakti is committed to provide ICT services for all levels of society, especially in remote areas, in order to encourage people to be resilient, self-reliant, and well-equipped with knowledge and infrastructure. All Indonesians should have the same opportunity to enjoy the benefit of digital technology. It is our duty to connect the unconnected without leaving anyone behind. We hope that what Bhakti is doing will bring advantages and progress for digital transformation for Indonesia in the future. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Hopefully, I can provide useful knowledge for the participants today, so we can together join hands to accelerate national digital transformation, especially developing telecommunication infrastructure and empowering digital ecosystem in rural communities. Thank you for listening. See you in the next productive collaboration. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anang, for the insightful presentation. And I would like to invite our second speaker, Professor Tuksel Kayabeng Sir, with the presentation topic, SME Startup Digital Payment and Technological Adoption. The time is yours, Professor.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to say my best regards for all members of T20 Task Force Group. And actually, from Turkey, I would like to say my best regards, all the members. So in this event, I will underline the main issues which is the topic of our policy agenda. One of them is artificial intelligence and ethics. And the second subject is digital literacy and especially digital gender gap. So let me start first AI and ethics topic. So actually preparing myself for this event, I read info from the website of the T20 Indonesia 22 agenda, and I'll try to think of the focusing the agenda, what we can focus mostly in this meeting and to make underline the main issues, especially we are in the aging of artificial intelligence. So when we are looking at the AI application all over the world, actually we are in the beginning session. Actually, just we started. Maybe very soon we will enter to this age. So we need to focus on this coming age challenges, mostly while dealing with our important challenges till this time we faced. So let me start. What is the challenges in AI age we will face? I listed 11 titles. One of them is, sorry, algorithmic transparency. This is a very important issue we will face since we will deal with all the public policy problems based on the algorithms. So our public organization will be managed by using the algorithms. So how we can provide the transparency by using algorithm. Second issue is cybersecurity vulnerabilities. I think yesterday we discussed this issue, and all over the world we faces the main problem, cybersecurity. So when we enter to AI age, we will face more and more problems to deal with cybersecurity. So third issue we need to maybe focus on unfairness. That's also very problematic area, besides the bias and discrimination, and also lack of constantability. So another issue is legal personhood issues. This is also we need to focus and try to understand the main problems, what we can do to solve all over the world. And we know intellectual property issues already we have a problem as we released legislations. But now in the artificial intelligence age, especially considering the public policies, we have to maybe rearrange our regulations. And also nowadays we have many social problems, losing some jobs and creating new jobs by AI technologies. So there will be an adverse effect on the workers of AI, and we need to understand the problems of these effects on workers and to create new jobs and new skills, especially maybe our other agenda is to close the gender gap. Another issue is privacy and data protection, which is also very important. And till this time, we already released regulations, but also in this age, we have to think about more. And also, we have to look at the liability for damage and lack of accountability with the autonomous systems, with the AI sides. And this also needs new regulations and new approaches. And last one is human control and discretion in AI-driven decision making. How we can make the decision making by using the algorithms, and what we can say about the discretion instead of human control. So I have to say about all these challenges, maybe we need to look at the AI ethics, and this also needs new approach to understand behind these all challenges, what we can do. So when I can say NS and Rowena show us AI ethics can be considered based on the social political context. So this is very critical framework for us to deal with these problems altogether by looking at ethics lenses. So I think this agenda will help us to deal with these AI subjects. So let me go to the second problems, which is the digital literacy. closing the digital gender gap. As we know, gender equality is fundamental to achievement of human rights. And according to UN reports, we can see that every region of the world, girls and women are still more likely to be poor and illiterate, hungry, unhealthy, and also under the presidented in the leadership positions, and also politically marginalized, and so on. So also, a World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Index shows us a need for interventions that cultivate digital skills of women and girls all over the world. Globally, digital skills gender gaps are growing despite at least a decade national and international efforts to close them. And we need to struggle to access the public ICT facilities, also lack of the unsafe roads and lack of the technical infrastructure and not enough finance conditions. So we can see the big digital gaps all over the world in terms of many reasons. Women are less likely to know how to operate smartphone and also use the social media. Actually, in Turkey, even though the age people try to use social media to communicate with their families, especially during the pandemic problems time, but still we have to make the skill for not only the young generations, but also the elderly people to use the social media and internet well while isolated in their house in pandemic process. So according to UNESCO report, men are around 4 times more likely than women to have advanced ICT skills. So this also shows us we have to deal with this gender problem in the digital gap for the woman to create new policies. And especially in the artificial intelligence age, we need to also create new approaches to deal with this gap. Actually, we have statistics in artificial intelligence and data science is often less than 1% female in the applicant pool of the technical jobs. So still there is a big gap for female groups. So I think when we are looking at the challenges for the women, girls to develop digital skills, we need to recognize to be essential life skills and to participate in society well, and also to cut across age groups and assume a lifelong learning orientation. And we need to look at the problems of poverty-stricken countries. And when we look at the Future of Jobs 2020 report WEVs, we can also say one of the major challenges among the problem, the girls doesn't have any career in this digital technology area comparing the men. So we have to also focus on this problem and to prepare these groups for the new age. And also for the women, transforming the AI industry, pioneering to improve experiences for the next generation and leading the development of new technology. And also another problem is AI technologies gendered and AI, since AI is natural, but it's made by humans, which means internalize all the same bias. So we have to include including the gender bias, which we discussed in the AI policy areas. Also, we have to look at this issue in the gender problems. So what we can do, maybe we can list many proposals later on, but I have to underline one of them. Bringing economic benefits to women and society, we empower the women, girls, and to help them to find themselves in the artificial intelligence time, and also encouraging collaborative and peer learning by themselves besides the government policies. And also we need to adapting sustained and varied life-wide approaches, and creating safe spaces, and recruiting and training gender-sensitive teachers, and also promoting the role models of the mentors, and so on. I don't want to take your time for the detail. That's all from my side, and I wish a good meeting for everyone. Thank you. So that's all. Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Adiwan.
Yes. Thank you, Professor, for the presentation. And now we would like to invite our third speaker. Sarinas Titi is Digital Literacy and Skills for Closing Digital Gender Gap. Dr. Nia Sarinas Titi is from the Atmajaya Catholic University, a center, a development partnership lead in Indonesia. Please, Dr. Nia, the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and greetings to all of the speakers who are present today, colleagues of our T20, also the chair lead, Professor Suhono Harso Supangkat, Mr. Anang Ahmad Latif speaking today as well, and Professor Truxell, as well as Mr. Lukman Hakim, who will be presenting after me. My topic today will be on digital literacy and skills for closing digital gender gap. It will be similar to what Professor Truxell has mentioned, but with different contexts. I would like to be able to share my screen, if you allow.
I think you already a co-host, Dr. Nia, so you can share your screen.
Okay, yes, I have it now. My mouse is not working, that's the problem. I have to do this manually.
Are you in Indonesia or the United States?
I'm in Los Angeles, Prof.
Oh.
Okay, great. The committee provided me a very beautiful PowerPoint template. Sorry. So as we know, digital has changed the way we live. We are quite familiar with the use of our smartphone and the internet as well to do shopping, entertainment, study, sports, travel, payments, especially in the last 2 years. We've been what I call screenagers, the era of like teenager, the screen where we see like more than 3 screens a day, including our TV, our mobile phone, as well as our laptop or even desktop. Some of you, I believe, has also looked into having triple dates on your meetings and webinars all at the same time by teaching. And it's something that we've been overwhelmed with over the last 2 years. But eventually, we also have an issue where even though we are doing more than 3 screens, some of us are actually, half of the world's population are still offline. And of course, the digital divide risk becoming the new face of inequality, especially as we mentioned today as well by Dr. Trikesh, is that we are very much not equal in regards to having digital access. And this is mentioned by the UN Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed. We all understand that digital technologies, from artificial intelligence to blockchain, have truly transformed the way we have work or live, and opens the new frontier for better opportunities for people and societies to engage with each other, and as well for commerce. But even though we recognize their vast potential, it becomes also a vehicle for the spread of misinformation, hate speech, online child abuse, and violent extremism. And this is something as well in Indonesia that we face. A lot of hoax has happened around along the years that people are introduced to the internet. And as you can see, the digital divide here is that it is quite where it is dark. It's where the internet devices are available. And unfortunately, as you can see as well, they're not, as you can see, 50% of the world is in the dark. There's also the digital participation gap. There are a lot of people are, again, being screenagers, are consuming content rather than creating content. And with this, we question who are actually those creators, because if the hoaxes or the misinformation are produced by those who are not responsible in the use of the internet, then who are we to be able to develop and produce those digital content? And as you can see here, the digital gender gap is quite large as well. Based on the information from the United Nations, 1.2 billion women do not have access to the internet, and 327 million fewer women than men use mobile internet. So the more red it gets, that means the less access for the woman to be able to have access to their internet. And majority of those come from the developing, or what we also call some of them emerging countries. Why did this digital gender gap happen? It's because there is lack of digital fluency. As you can see here, I'm gonna move this. As you can see here, digital fluency over countries are quite different, as well as for education, employment, and advancements. What does this mean? Digital fluency is the use of how digital fluency is the sum of the education as well as employment and advancement. And this is data from 2017 conducted by Accenture, where we see why Indonesia and India are the lowest, right? Because in Indonesia, as you can see here, a majority of the people who have access to the internet are those who are employed and education, but very little use an internet or digital for advancement. Meaning, because a lot of our population in Indonesia uses the internet for social media, and people tend to be mesmerized by information that are related to more of the entertainment as well as political that are screwed over what we call misinformation. And of course, in India, it's mostly based on culture where they feel that women should still be at home, and the priority because of the economy, the priority goes for the male for education. So this is where the digital fluency model happens. It's an extent to which women and men actually embrace and use digital technologies to become more knowledgeable, connected, and effective. At the moment, majority of the use of digital is again for social media, which tends again to be, a lot of them are misinformed or only use it to spread information, not for gaining knowledge or being more effective in what they do at school or at work. And so what is the driver for this digital fluency and the outcomes? So education is the level of education that women and men achieve. And then also work and involvement. This means being part of the society, being part of their society and the larger community where they belong, having a job and remaining in the workforce. And this is the most important aspect of the use of digital, is also for advancements, how well women and men are doing as they move towards leadership. So are they using digital for them to be able to be knowledgeable and then be more effective as leaders? And that's where the digital fluency score came about. Another issue that we face is not just about gender gap, but also digital civility. This is something that Microsoft has started in an effort to promote safer, healthier, and more respectful online interactions among people. And they survey teens and adults around the world about the state of digital civility. And what they ask is in 4 categories: behavioral, sexual, reputation, and personal or intrusiveness. And the wishes is that, of course, people are not, this includes bullying, includes harassment, and they feel that civility is quite low. And they wish that this 2020s, that we have more civility, more respect, more empathy, more kindness, and also freedom of speech. We can see here the results of the, as I've mentioned, digital civility in the world, where they have, which is better or which has improved. As you can see, the Netherlands has dropped, United Kingdom has increased, United States has dropped a bit, Singapore has dropped, and Taiwan has increased. And then, as you can see, the biggest improvements that has happened in regards to digital civility is in Colombia, Chile, Peru, Vietnam, and Turkey. So for this, how do we actually be able to promote the increase of digital gap or digital divide? Is of course bridging the general digital divide. Is to make sure that that is not only about access to the internet or to the digital or smartphones, but it's also providing training so they have the skills to use information and communication technologies to their benefit. And as part of this theme of our T20 is meaningful digital access, then so that they can only also provide ability to increase their positions in their work, in their academia, and as well being a business person or entrepreneurship. And secondly, is to provide sessions on digital civility for all gender to reduce false and misleading information and selfishness. And the last is that there should be some kind of engagement or coordination between the government as well as the employers to bridge the digital gap and to be able to provide future job requirement and leadership skills. That's it from my side. Thank you very much. And hopefully we can have a further discussion on how we can decrease the digital divide or digital gap as well as the digital gender gap. Thank you very much. Thank you. I return my session to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nia. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nia. Now I would like to welcome Indonesia with his presentation, Accessible and Affordable Universal Internet Access to Rebuild and Recover in the Pandemic. The time is yours, Mr. Lukman Hakim.
Okay, thank you, Pak Adiwan. Good day, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Prof. Suhono, Prof. Turksel, Pak Anang, Dr. Nia, and all colleagues and all participants for these preliminary discussions. Let me continue our session today with the topic of accessible and affordable universal internet access to rebuild and recover the pandemic. Me, Lukman from Telkom Indonesia, are trying to sharing some ideas to have the abstract or the proposal will be have in this T20 or D20 in Indonesia. Next. So before we are going to our main topic today, let me introduce about Telkom Indonesia. Telkom is the government or state-owned enterprise that the ownership is 52% by government of Indonesia and 48% is from the public. Telkom is the largest telecommunication company in Indonesia with 10 direct subsidiaries actively operating and 24 indirect subsidiaries and 10 affiliated companies, as we show here. And to create and increase value for customers, Telkom manage the business based on the customer segment. In Telkom, we call it as a customer-facing unit. Telkom categorizes its products portfolio into 5 segments. We have consumer, enterprise, mobile, as we know. We have Telkomsel, wholesale, international business, and others. Next. So from that point of view, from Indonesia Digital Network, that we divide into 3 big infrastructure. We have ID Ring that right now we already have 170,000 kilometers for fiber optic backbone. And in the ID access, we have around 245,000 BTS. And in ID connectivity, we have 26 data centers. That equals to 26K square meter. Next. Telkom and its subsidiaries continue to actively develop infrastructure to support technology and information service and support the growth of digital service innovations. So let's back to our topic today. We have challenge in the pandemic effect that the COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact on economic growth in all countries in the world. Shown on the graph below, GDP in all countries impacted by this pandemic, as well as the GDP per capita. Even the situations when the pandemic happens in 2020, the gross domestic product even lower than the crisis when 2009. Next. And actually, what is the internet benefit to recover the pandemic? The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way people work, live, and communicate. Internet penetration is directly proportional to the use of technology and support the digitization process. We can see from the graph below that even in the US, 90% say that internet has been essential or important for the personnel during the coronavirus outbreak. And the same in Indonesia. From the bandwidth point of view, we can see from telecom perspective, we reached the highest growth of bandwidth during the pandemic, especially in 2020. Before the pandemic happened, the regular bandwidth growth is around 12%, and after the pandemic, we reached more than 25% bandwidth growth. Next. And what is our proposal? Actually, for this session, we will propose three things. And the first one is the government must fill the connectivity gaps in the unserved areas and open access to any qualified telcos. From the State of Mobile Internet Connectivity 2021, we have that there are two ways people can be unconnected. Either they live in an area not covered by mobile broadband, or they live in an area that is covered but they don't use mobile broadband. Yeah, the same with what is Pak Anang present before. We have task from the government to make sure that the 3T regions in bahasa it means terdepan, it means foremost, terluar, outermost, and also tertinggal in underdeveloped areas. These 3T regions are areas that have regional conditions that are directly adjacent to other countries, and these areas have the characteristic of incomplete facilities and infrastructure, both public and health infrastructures. And from the Ministry Communication and Informatics, we have that just 85% that already covered by mobile signals and services. And there are around 12,000 villages not yet connected by internet. And from this 12,000, we have 73% that include in 3T areas. Next. Telkomsel mobile broadband nowadays has reached 96% of Indonesia populations and keep growing. As we see in the chart that Telkomsel also developed the 5G BTS in several cities, and it will be used also in the G20 event. It will be held in this 2022, and through the USO program, Telkomsel is collaborating with Bhakti to build a 4G network at all USO sites in the 3T area. Next. And from the Telkom fixed broadband has reached 89% of Indonesian regencies and municipalities, capital cities, we call IKK, and Telkom accelerate access network modernization to fulfill public needs due to pandemic situations. We can see in the graph below that before COVID, actually, we plan to finish the access network modernization by 2023. But along the COVID, we realized that we need to do acceleration to do the network modernizations. And we plan to finish all of the 458 cities by this 2022. What we will have after the modernization is we will enhance of network quality and enable future services, of course, and we will support the government programs to decrease the digital divide and provide fixed broadband network for the public. So by this chapter, Telkom actually will finish all of the modernization to maximize our service, to maximize our bandwidth, and also to broaden our coverage, to expand, to expand our coverage, including in the 3T areas. Next. And let's move to our second proposals. Subsidize internet costs and device prices for low-income households. Yeah, from the graphic below, we can see that as incomes fall, mobile data becomes less affordable in many markets. Affordability of internet-enabled handset is worsening in all regions, except in some Saharan Africa. Affordability worsens when a consumer either face an increase in handset costs when average incomes reduce. Affordability also worse in many countries with a reduction in average incomes, driven mainly by COVID-19. Next, and how Telkom and Telkomsel give solutions. In this case, I will share some solution from Telkom and Telkomsel that we give discounts and packet options to make internet more affordable for public in pandemic situations. Let's see for IndiHome learning from home. So in order to support more effective learning from home activities, IndiHome provide learning from home packets that can help make learning at home more comfortable. Yeah, we promise a stable internet connection. It will certainly help the children to complete daily tasks without the need to leave the house. And for Telkomsel, I think many things that Telkomsel did or done during the pandemic, and Telkomsel support the government mutual cooperation effort and handling the spread of COVID-19 by acting as a connectivity enabler. In the education sector, to encourage online student learning, Telkomsel offer various services like internet support from Ministry of Education and Culture, internet support from Ministry of Religion, and also a quota learning package. And the packet is still continue today until the COVID-19 pandemic finish. Next. So we are in the third proposal. The third proposal is a socialized digital literacy to develop digital ecosystem. From this chart, we can see that the majority of young people in ASEAN has a moderate level of digital literacy, but large differences exist between individual countries. We can see Indonesia is for the 4 level, and for the excellence, we already more than 50% of the respondents. And from the Indonesian Digital Literacy Index in 2020, we can see that our level for the Digital Literacy Index is moderate. It means 3.47. And I think this one is just like still we have a good opportunity. We still have opportunity for improvement to make our digital literacy index getting better year by year. Next. And what is a Telkom solution or support for this issue? Telkom support Ministry of SOE to establish ITDRI, Indonesia Telecommunication and Digital Research Institute, to develop strong digital ecosystem and create world-class digital talents. According to Ministry of SOE, it will establish collaboration with all pentahelix elements in developing Indonesia technology leadership, innovation, capability, and digital talents. And according to the Telkom CEO, Pak Riri Ardiansyah, as a digital telecommunication company, Telkom perceive this nation requires technology sovereignty. The presence of Indonesia Telecommunication and Digital Research Institute is an absolute manifestation of Telkom commitment to bring more prosperous, independent, and competitive nation into reality through research. In this ITDRI, we do learning, innovation, and research. I think that's all our presentation today. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and good day.
Back to you, Mr. Adiwan.
Pak Adiwan ada masalah?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Yep. I think all of the speaker, presentations, and I.
Okay, your sounds okay.
Chats over.
Are you breaking up or is it me?
I'm afraid Mr. Adiwan has a connection problem.
Unfortunately, because I have been signed out earlier, chats.
Mr. Adiwan, are you ready?
The sound, yeah.
Hello?
Let's continue, Mr. Adiwan.
One of the problem in internet quality, ya. Pak Aryo can represent Pak Adiwan for the continuing for the moderator if any problem with Pak Adiwan. Oh, Mbak Fetty can assist for that.
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies for the error from my internet. Unfortunately, because I've been signed out several times, I could not see the questions that have been written in the chat. So perhaps Pak Aris or maybe others could read the questions, so there could be answers from the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Adiwan. There is a question from KCT, from Mr. KCT. There is a question for Mr. Anang. Thank you, Pak Anang, for the insightful presentation. May I know how would PUBG decide which rural area would be connected and when? What is the criteria for such a decision? Thank you. From Mr. Casey, from, I believe, Mr. Casey from Japan. Please, Mr. Anang.
Yes, thank you. I try to answer a question from Mr. Casey Tai. Bhakti is managed, we call it USO Fund, Universal Service Obligation Fund. Okay. a fund that contributed by all operators, telecom operator, 1.25% of their gross annual revenues. But our homework is too large compared with the USO fund. Too many gaps to be solved. That's why since last year, 2021, for the first time, government put the budget 5 times bigger, compared to USO fund to let Bhakti complete the gap for every year. Before we deploy, we have to we have to discuss with the operators, to make sure that there will be no overlapping development of infrastructure. This is the way we decide which location that we need to be deployed or to be developed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anang. I hope it's answer Mr. K question. Is there any question? Hope you wouldn't mind to put the icon, raise your hand, if there is any question. From another, if there's no question, there is a question from all the presenter or all the nurse. Is there any question? Professor Suhono, you might have a question.
Oh, Pak KCT, any question again? Pak KCT, raise hand now, please. KCT.
Okay, thank you, Pak. So it's good to see you co-chairing this particular task force. I applaud and commend you on that. The Indonesian government has selected the right person. I'm more interested to the policy brief, which you are trying to solicit from people. What would be the action items that you are looking for in terms of the task force, right? What are you looking at as a next step? As you and I believe that we want to develop future leaders, I am very interested to see what is the downstream consequences of this policy and how can we get more youngsters, the universities, to really come on board smart and sustainable cities like what Bhakti is trying to do and what Telkomsel is trying to do, or Telkom Indonesia. So what are the next steps after the policy brief? Pak Suhono?
Okay, thank you, KCT. Yes, yesterday and today is one of the warm information to the world about our task in think tank 20, especially at Task Force 2, that we choose with the 9 policy area priority. First, from internet access, with the meaningful internet access that also yesterday considered by Professor Glenn Warrock from Berkeley, and also yesterday Professor Toshio Obi talk about the smartization and the future of the model of smart city, and also today from the Professor Tuskes and also Pak Anang Latif and Bu Nia and also Pak talk about the accessibility and the strategy and the idea how to shape the world with the recover stronger. And of course, this week we are looking for the policy abstract proposal from the world that contribute for our choose the policy area that related with the T20 pillar that consider about the productivity, health, and also climate change. So we are waiting for the proposal for the institution from university, from research institute, from the company, and so on, so that we can select from the 9 policy brief hope we can receive more than 20, and then we can publish more than 10 policy area, policy brief, and then we can choose together to communicate with the T20 summit that one of these highest decision. But T20 is an ideas bank that yes, alternative solution for the future, and digitalization is a catalyst for the all of these pillar in productivity, in health, and also in environment or climate. So please submit the proposal brief, policy brief till 10th of January, then next week. And till now, there are 5 proposal brief we received. Till yesterday, maybe now is 7 or 8 proposal brief from UK, from Asia, from European, from American, Australia, and so on and so on. So representatives to the G20 member, and then we can influence for the future our world, solve the world challenge. Yeah. Thank you. We received. We're waiting for your policy abstract.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So I would like to move on to our next question from Mr. Tommy Tamtomo. A question on telecom railship and the opportunity for access in deprived areas in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you Pak Tommy.
Pak Lukman, ya.
Yeah, thank you Pak Tommy Tamtomo and Pak Adiwan for the questions. Right now, Telkom and Starlink already have some agreement to deliver the Starlink services in Indonesia. But we are just starting, and we will finish the infrastructure development and also the readiness for the service maybe by this year or by, yes, of course by this year. And the agreement actually doing by Telkom subsidiaries, which is Telkomsat. And I think after everything is ready to public, the Telkomsat and Telkom will announce the services that, of course, this a big opportunity for Indonesian society to have internet access in the private areas in Indonesia, of course, in the 3T areas. And as we know, we will use the LEO satellite. It means the latency much better, much improved compared to the other orbit, and it will be like have internet access, faster internet access, even we are in the suburban area. That's all my answer, Pak Tommy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Lukman, for the answer. I think we have answered all of the questions in the chat room. Perhaps there are other questions that you would like to ask to our speakers, maybe directly through the chat or directly to talk with them.
There is one question, is one from the Pak Teja regarding the how to propose the policy brief. Please, Pak Nugroho, inform the location information website in regard to submit the policy brief. Pak Nugroho maybe can share the location and the rule of the policy brief.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sono. I would like to share the information about the policy brief.
So I think there are no further questions from the forum, maybe from Professor Suhono or from the SCCIC. There are other information maybe.
Please announce, Pak Nugroho, the rule and regulation and the location to submit. This is the rule and regulation, the structure of policy brief abstract as follows. The abstract summary, 300 words. Challenge about your proposed abstract, 200 words. Proposal, 200 words, and relevant with to G20 of in G20 this year, is of course. And then for the rule and regulation, please visit the info.t20indonesia.org. The abstract will be deadline in January 10, 2022. Thank you. Okay. We waiting for your abstract policy brief submission. Then in February, inception conference, and then we continue with some side event and also interim conference till August. Thank you.
If there is any other question, Mr. Adiwan, you would have to close this discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Suhono. I think we have answered all of the questions in the chat room and discussion. So if there's no other questions with this, I would like to thank our presenters for today from Mr. Anang, Professor Turkskel, Dr. Nia, and also Mr. Lukman for their insightful presentation. And also with this, I would like to end our discussion for today. Perhaps Professor Suhono, there are 1 or 2 words from you before we close our event today. Okay, so thank you very much for attending our event, and we look forward for your submission for the policy brief. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pak Anang.
Have a good day.
Wish you good health and good day.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.